Here we go.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. In the season of giving, the Patriots were very giving the Raiders a free W, and actually completing a pass to a former Patriot great, Chandler Jones. The Giants, mainly number 5, Kayvon Thibodeau, unleashing his inner Lawrence Taylor. We're going to definitely speak on that to open. And we are also going to speak on just a wild Week 15 around the board in the NFL. With me, my good friend, Giants superfan, Mr. Idris Salam. And as you can see, it's been a minute, but today is Victory Monday.
Big Blue Monday, baby.
Yes, sir. Inspired victory for the New York Football Giants last night in the nation's capital. It was not easy. Nothing is when the Giants play yet another one-possession victory. Giants take the game 20-12. Controversial call at the end on a non-pass interference, but given the way the Giants lost last year to Washington in the same venue, and with getting an apology from the league, quite frankly, I don't care. I'll take it. Giants have been on the wrong side of a lot of these. My takeaways from last night's game, early on, it looked kind of bleak for the Giants. They only had 3 offensive plays in the first 14 minutes or so of the game. Washington did a great job of keeping the Giants offense off the field early. Turning point where the momentum shifted for the most part, definitely the Kayvon Thibodeau strip sack, which turned into an immediate touchdown at the time, giving the Giants 7-3 lead and just really flipping the entire morale of the game around. Giants, they were winning their one-on-one matchups. Going in, I don't think too many people felt comfortable that the Giants had the ability to win these one-on-ones. And then when you consider you're missing your starting safety, in addition to missing your starting corner, Giants did a great job. Terry McLaurin made some plays, did not go off. Dotson was the guy who really had quite the game for Washington, making a phenomenal catch, which thankfully didn't lead to points. A huge fumble. And I mean, you're talking a game of inches. A potential DJ fumble, his elbow was on the ground. In Taylor Heinicke's case, not the same luck, but they outplayed Washington, I would have to say, very eerily similar to the first game. I would say they outplayed Washington probably 6 out of 8 quarters. Yeah. And essentially it gives them a 2-game lead. Giants jump to 6 because Washington is only a half game up on the Seahawks and Lions respectively. So this is going to be wild down the stretch. Idris, what are your thoughts on how the Giants got over the hump and got a much-needed victory to up their playoff chances to 88%?
Resiliency, man. I think the team has taken the personality of the coach. I mean, we start flat like we've done in basically all of our games. And it's always that one play, and then we're ready to go. The Kayvon Thibodeau strip sack, fumble, touchdown. He got, I guess you could call a hat trick,
12 tackles everywhere.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, he was everywhere, man. It ignited the team, man. And I think us being down, X, McKinney, it hurt because we gave up a lot of big plays, especially the deep pass to Dotson.
Yeah, that when that happened, I started getting a bad feeling.
Yeah, but the thing about it, we have a good pass rush. And I was thinking last night after the game, this team kind of reminds me of the 2017. I'm going to tell you why. We've given up more points than we scored, like the 2017. And we had a great front line. And we teed it around, kept playing, then we made that run in the playoffs. I'm not saying it's going to happen because we got a lot of pieces we need to put in place. But Dable's doing a great job. And I'm not being a homer. I mean, who's going to put a team together, a winning record with the players that we have on the corners?
I agree with you. Thing I like about what Coach Dable has done is that he's very humble and acknowledges that, yes, he is a rookie coach. And sometimes in certain situations in the not so distant past, he has been outcoached in certain areas. You know, you're going against the best of the best week in and week out in terms of coaching. You take a guy like the man we just defeated, your uncle's former teammate, Mr. Ron Rivera. I mean, the guy's a football lifer. Has my utmost respect despite coaching a rival. You know, he's a gamer and damn good coach. And I think playing in such a rich division like the NFC East, you have a Super Bowl winning coach in Mike McCarthy. You have a damn good coach in Nick Sirianni. And I feel that this is going to make Brian Dable and the team, for that matter, it's going to harden them for the playoffs. I believe it was Chris Sims, son of Giants legend Phil Sims, who made mention that, yes, he's a Giant fan. You know, he made that clear.
Right.
but he also said that he feels that some of the ups and downs of to your point, an imperfect roster is really going to bring this team together. And there are some diamonds in the rough. I mean, you have a guy like an Isaiah Hodgins, who was essentially a practice squad pickup, a leftover from a Buffalo team that's deep at receiver. He's paid dividends. And, you know, the fan base was very tough on Richie James. He came up big yesterday on many a third down.
Don't forget the punt return.
That was sneaky.
Yeah, that was sneaky.
that was my first. That was actually my first live mention during the game. You know, he's trying to turn the narrative around after the bad Seattle performance with the 2 fumbles. You can't say much more about the toughness of Daniel Jones. He knew he was going to get hit taking the shots in the pocket, and Saquon Barkley literally on that final drive just would not be denied.
Possessed.
Yes, wanted to win that game. Something that I was very enthused about. Giants did something yesterday they don't do normally, and that's finish the half with a late score.
Right.
That was nice. That was nice to see.
Right.
You know, definitely not a perfect victory in that. And like I said, the wheels almost came off late. But, you know, the Giants defense toughened up. And, yes, we did catch a break, 2 breaks. Terry McLaurin, in my opinion, taking the fan hat off, probably shouldn't have drew that flag. He was essentially trying to ask the referee if he was on the line of scrimmage. But at the same time, as a veteran player, you got to know that.
You got to know that.
And, you know, the late penalty, they let him play. I mean, I enjoyed yesterday's game because it really felt like a classic NFC matchup. And, you know, Giants legend Lawrence Taylor, you know, I'm rocking the gear today with reason. Going into this week after the embarrassing defeat to the Philadelphia Eagles, our main nemesis, he really challenged this Giants defense to step up and, as he said, show some nuts. They more than did that. Even with some of the plays that weren't made, guys kept competing. And there's something to say about that. You know, Wink Martindale deployed a lot of exotic blitzes last night that worked. You know, getting the most out of what they have to work with. And, you know, the future looks bright. And as far as the immediate future, this is a team, as I stated, 88% chance to make the playoffs now. And they may very well find themselves in the dance. Washington definitely takes a tough loss, and this could hinder their playoff chances.
You know, and I said this on previous show. We both said on previous shows, Dable is showing what good coaching can do. He's taking average to plays that usually be bagging groceries. And he's making them professional. You know, he's putting them on the field, and they're playing for that check. Like
absolutely, and I love that nothing's handed out for free. Like you talk about the $72 million man, Kenny Golladay. He played one play last night.
One play.
You know, Dable is not caving to salaries or stupid things that may have happened with the previous regime.
Got to come to play. You want to make that money?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, this team passed on Odell. I wouldn't rule out a reunion maybe in the offseason. Quite frankly, from a financial standpoint, it just doesn't make sense. And I think Odell came to a reality that he may very well not be ready.
Right.
And it might be best for all parties concerned to hold off on a potential reunion, or if Odell goes somewhere else. Bottom line is, I was recently on the Sergio Rodriguez show, good friend of the show. He's doing great things with his
Oh, I missed
podcast.
that one. Oh man.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you. It's on Spotify and Apple. And
Word.
yeah, it was cool being a guest. I'm used to being a host, so being a guest was definitely a really cool experience. But Sergio, to wrap up this Giants segment, basically said that he feels that Odell is the best number 3 receiver in the history of football. And what he was getting at was people are salivating over him. And quite frankly, I think people are a little bit in rapture of the player he used to be. By no means am I saying that Odell can't help a team. And by no means am I saying that I wouldn't love to see a reunion.
Right.
But the right way to do business is it has to be on this new regime's terms.
I agree. To close the segment on that, I agree. And I think a lot of our fans are too enamored with him for what he did back then.
No, for sure. Because, I mean, when you talk about the start of this man's career,
oh, man,
he was putting up numbers that would rival Jerry Rice and Sterling Sharp to start a career.
But he's not that guy no more.
No, but he could still help.
Explosive. Yeah, he's still
I mean, whether the reunion happens or not, the Giants still have to address that wide receiver position. Our good friend, Giants superfan, the Mask, Quentin Moore, we spoke with him yesterday. I spoke with him yesterday, and he is very confident that Hodgins is coming back. I would like to see Sterling Shepard get an invite back because I think the Giants are a better team when Sterling Shepard is a part of it. Whether that means if he can't play anymore, put him on the staff. He's a leader, man. He's a leader. And I said this to Quentin yesterday. When guys get terrible injuries, a lot of them tend to get depressed and go into the abyss. What I love about what Shepard has done is that he has worked out, recovered around his teammates.
Right.
And having his knowledge and his leadership in that locker room is truly invaluable and something that the Giants should be very thankful for. It's great seeing him out there. It's great having him be a part of what this team is doing. And go ahead.
I mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. It's open conversation.
The funny thing about it is before this season, I was like Sterling Shepard, but he came back.
Yes.
Balling, and he came back cerebral.
That's why it was so sad to see him go out like that because they're definitely a better team when he's a part of it. And I don't necessarily mean that from a statistical level because Father Time catches everyone. But given the kind of organization that the Giants are, I do believe that Sterling Shepard will be a part of the team on some level or another, whether he is a part of the team holding down the slot position for a short while, or if that's a guy that you need in your locker room. Truly a leader. And it was great to see Saquon showing him love.
Yeah, with the shirt.
Rocking the shirt. Yeah.
I saw that. I like that.
Yeah, when you're rocking the shirt of your own teammate, that speaks volumes about what you think about his character. We're going to move it along. If you're
watching the show, I need that shirt, man.
Yeah, sure is dope. Moving it along to the free fall in Duval. Idris and I were out there a couple months ago with a lot of the Giant family. Shout out frontliners.
The free fall in Duval, okay.
Yeah, man. Idris, I'm
That's a good word.
I'm gonna let you start this up because I want to get my plug for the laptop, which I left in my other room.
Yeah.
You have at it. I'm gonna go take a trip to the Yankees room, and I'll be right back. This is yours.
I got you. The free fall in Duval, y'all. What can we say? The Cowboy explosive offense of Gallup, CD, Dak. I mean, it shows the team is locked. I mean, the team is Super Bowl ready. The defense is crazy. Micah Parsons. I mean, what more can you ask for? Diggs, but that defense gave it up. They gave up too many points, and in the end, that was just a bad throw by Dak Prescott. Period. He kind of like looped it over. It was in double coverage, deflection, pick six. There's no way Dallas should have lost that game. I mean, we went in there, and me and Richie was in there together at the stadium, and that fan base supports that team. It's loud, it's crazy, it's ruckus, it's wild, it's all that. Dallas should not have lost that game yesterday with the weapons they had. We went in there and we had to win at the last. We had to do basically a goal line stand.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas should not have lost that game. That game should not have been close with the weapons they have and the defense they have. No way they should have lost that game. But that's they say any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday for sure. One thing I do want to say about the Jaguars, I think it's fair to say that as the season has moved along, they are a much better team than they were possibly when we ran into them, because I believe that this has been documented on our show here. Year one, Urban Meyer was a wasted year for not only quarterback Trevor Lawrence, but for that entire organization. And I believe that now that they have a real coach in there, a quarterback-friendly coach in Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl with the rival Eagles, it does seem like Jacksonville is finally on the proper trajectory. And I will go as far as saying that next year, I do believe that they could win that division. And quite frankly, with the Titans just losing week in and week out lately, they have not closed the door where if Jacksonville gets hot, they could snag that division. That is not out of the question. But yes, the Cowboys should have won that game yesterday. No excuses over there.
It's funny how Doug Peterson, former coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, beat the Cowboys. Right. And as for the Titans, I don't mean to jump subjects, but
no, it's
Tannehill better watch out, because Malik Willis is going to take that job.
Well, I feel that he's just keeping the seat warm. It's only a matter of time, and they've already dabbled into what it looks like with Malik.
Right.
I think Tannehill's on borrowed time, to say the least. And while we keep it on the subject of Eagle coaches, the current Eagles, Nick Sirianni's guys, big victory over the Chicago Bears. They haven't clinched the East title yet, but it is basically a foregone conclusion. Because essentially the Eagles only have to win one more game this year. It would take Dallas running the table and the Eagles losing the rest of the games. They do play next in Arlington. And yes, I do think the Cowboys should win that game. I think after losing the way they did, they probably will. But as far as the division goes, I think those are two teams you could feel comfortable and lock in. The Eagles are more than likely going to be number one, and the Cowboys are more than likely going to be number 5. I think that is pretty evident that that's how that's going to play out. And whoever wins the South will play Dallas. Philly gets that bye, which is very valuable this time of the year because each conference only gets one bye as opposed to 2. What are your thoughts on this? I thought it was a business-like performance. The Eagles didn't exactly light the world on fire, but they don't have to do that every week.
I think they do just enough to win.
Yeah.
I think they do. I think they play to the competition, but not in the terms of if the competition is bad, they play bad. I think they play to a level of let's play enough to beat them so they don't beat themselves. They don't wear themselves out. They don't get injured. I wasn't really impressed with them yesterday, but I can tell that they had the game under control.
I tend to agree. And Zappe called for a Bears upset multiple times. He kind of retracted as the game got closer, but it's all about matchups. Yeah. I mean, we've seen Washington and the Giants play 8 quarters over the last 3 weeks.
Of tough football.
Right. And even after the fact, I can comfortably say they are very evenly matched, and a few plays changes it. Philadelphia, believe it or not, the Bears do present a tough matchup, similarly to how the Packers do. Because, these are teams that are not having playoff caliber seasons, but it just goes to show that on any given Sunday, things could happen because what the Bears and Packers actually do rather well is they run the ball. A weakness that our team, in addition to the Eagles, struggles with.
Yeah, and I think they're just so deep everywhere, man. The only way you're going to beat them is to beat the quarterback because they can run the ball, they can pass the ball to defense. You got Bradbury on one side, say on the other side. The team is deep, man, but they can be beaten. I think next week, Philly does good in Dallas.
It's going to be a good game. I mean,
a good game.
Recent history is on Dak's side. Dak has played well against the entire division.
Yeah, especially after defeats.
I'll be honest. I talked to a good friend of the show, Mr. Keith Woolridge. He's a diehard Cowboy fan. Would love to get him on one day. Really smart dude. and we spoke on. Well, first of all, he wanted to say he loves New York for us getting them into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I've got those things this morning too.
Yeah, from some of our Cowboy friends, but I told Keith, I said it's coming down to not even so much. This is a feel-out game.
Yeah,
you guys are going to play in round 3 of this rivalry. There will be a round 3, and it's going to be a round 2 of the NFC playoffs.
Yeah,
but he said the blessing in it is that Dak, they're going to get on his ass after losing the way he did. Mm-hmm. And that might be exactly what Dak Prescott needs, because if you look at his history and his career, coming off a really horrific performance, he tends to play better. And it's overdue because now it's 2 weeks. Because the issue that I see with Dak, too many unforced interceptions. And that's not what I've become accustomed to seeing with Dak. Our buddy Zappy, who's always on the show here, huge Cowboy fan, feels that an OBJ add-on would prevent some of this. We'll see if T.Y. Hilton can be a real contributor. But as far as the matchup goes, I don't want to tip off too much because we are going to do our preview show probably this Wednesday. I think Dallas is going to win this particular week because let's not forget, with Cooper Rush, they almost beat them in Philly. Yeah. Dallas is not playing up to their standard or their ability, but I do believe that sometimes these losses can humble you and get you refocused.
Well, I'm picking Philly to win. You playing on a fast track with the turf,
and that will essentially win the division, and that's a statement and a half winning in AT&T if that should that happen.
Yeah, I mean, because I kind of let me let you Cowboy fans know right now, I don't like y'all. So when I say this, don't get it twisted. I kind of want them to beat Philly. Philly's our rivals.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like Philly, and beating them bring the division closer. I just don't think they will. See, with Dak, I think Dak is a very good quarterback. Is he a great quarterback? No. He's a good quarterback, but he reminds me of Romo. Romo was I love. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll be honest. When I compare the two, and I have done this, I think Romo is a better quarterback than Dak. I think
I agree.
Dak has had the blessing of having a better roster. Because when the Cowboys, because when the Cowboys finally got a defense, that's when Romo was so broken from all the injuries. And Zappy and I have spoke on this, doing the whole hindsight thing. I believe if Romo would have played in 16, they would have won that Packer game.
They'd have won that.
Yes, but how do you take the job away from the kid that earned it? You don't. It was still the right move.
Yeah, and I say he reminds me of Romo, and I say Romo's a better quarterback. Romo did a whole lot more with.
Oh yeah, if you look at his statistical value, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the position. If we're basing it on certain metrics like quarterback rating, it was the failures in the playoffs, not all his fault, but that it's like anything else. Coaches and quarterbacks keep the win-loss record, and that's something that you just can't, ignore. And, this is a good segue here because it goes to show you how two particular franchises have done a 360 and how 1 year changes so much. Because last season, the Philadelphia Eagles were just scraping the surface of being a playoff team, similar to what our Giants are trying to do. And they got rocked by last year's defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, you look at the situation out in Tampa now, and, NFL Network did a special on this in a more endearing way when it talked about time versus time. But right now, and I made a post on my personal Facebook page yesterday, it just looks like Father Time has really caught up to this man. And, there's a swirling amount of rumors that he might be heading back to his former stomping grounds to maybe do a goodbye tour or maybe even be able to get enough free agents in there. We'll see if him and Bill could reignite the magic. But I got to say,
I'm hearing Raiders.
That would be interesting because the Raiders were a finalist to get him prior to going to Tampa.
Right.
I'll be honest. If I'm the Raiders, the only quarterback that I want right now is probably Aaron Rodgers. And I would see what it would take to get him over there, reunite him with Devontae. Personally, I think it's a 50-50 because I'm not convinced that Rodgers is leaving. I just think Rodgers loves the headlines and loves to mess with people's heads. But as far as his contemporary, the other number 12 goes, I feel that Tom Brady, Yeah, you could blame the O-line. The middle of that O-line is soft. They're missing people. They lost JPP. They lost Sue. They're not the same team. AB was a key contributor, as was Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
But I believe that the end is near for Tom.
Yeah.
And, when it strikes, it happens fast. We've seen it happen with a lot of great quarterbacks.
Peyton Manning, it hit him like.
And little brother as well.
Yeah, they were great the year before, and all of a sudden, boom.
Fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Brady, I think Father Time is tugging at his jacket.
Like,
hey, man.
It's time.
I'm gonna pull you. You need to step it off. That third quarter yesterday, you cannot have a worse third quarter.
That was remarkably terrible. And I noticed that he just can't stretch the field anymore. Mm-mm. The easy throws don't look that easy. And I said this back in 19. He needs the perfect roster to be that guy, and that is not what they have.
No, they don't. They couldn't cross the foot. Like when I
it was like there was a magnetic field pushing them back. I felt that way with Washington yesterday too. Some of it self-inflicted, and some of it, us playing a little bit above our heads. I'm like, I think.
Yeah, that whole quarter was spent. That entire whole quarter was spent on that side of the field. Tampa side of the field. Tampa could not cross.
That is a fact, my guy. That is a fact.
And he looked pedestrian, man. He just looked bad.
I keep alluding to 2019.
Yeah.
That's when I thought the beginning of the end was coming. Yes, he did have a resurgence in Tampa statistically, mainly 2020, 2021, but
he had the perfect roster.
Yes. You gave him everything he needed, and there's still certain things that Brady does well. I mean, he leads the league in completions.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take a crap on the guy and say that he still can't play this game, but if he's going to play that game at an elite level and do something in the postseason, he needs that backing around him. And when you look at this, there's a lot of issues. Byron Leftwich should have been the guy, not Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about a quarterback-driven league and the greatest winner to ever play that position, he and Leftwich played against each other for years in the AFC. Leftwich played on a lot of good Jaguar teams. They know each other very well. They both played the same position. He would have been the right man. I love Todd Bowles for what he does. Let me just make that clear. I'm not calling Todd Bowles a bum. I just don't think he's head coach material.
No.
I think he was meant to be a coordinator, whereas Leftwich should have got the nod. And, we're talking about head coach material. This is a candidate coming in here. Two candidates yesterday, Mr. Robert Saleh, as well as former Giant tight end from the 2000 NFC Champions Giants, Dan Campbell. Idris, what are your thoughts on what happened yesterday at MetLife, man? Jets playing without Mike White. Very physical game.
Yeah. The Jets, they need Mike White, man. I mean,
yeah.
Zach Wilson is good, but he's just not the guy. Mike White is going to do things Zach Wilson can't do and won't do. Mike White is tough.
He's New York tough.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks tough.
Yes, he does.
And if you have it up here, the rest of it's going to follow. If your mind says, look, let's do it. And you're playing in New York, man. And you need that type of toughness on.
That's how you win over those very tough fans.
That's how you win them. And when Mike White has played, the Jets look like a bully. Team.
Because I will say this, and I've said this on recent shows. I think the Jets are probably missed the playoffs because of what's happening right now. They still can sneak in. New England lose and help them. But my thing is this. I do think they're slightly ahead of our Giants right now on the roster. Yeah. They have an elite defense.
Oh, yeah.
Quarterback has been their issue. But yesterday what I noticed was right before the half, they got screwed by those refs. That was a rough one. Now, I don't want to I'm not going to complain too much because we got a call that they didn't. You know what I'm saying?
We're supposed to have that. We're supposed to get that one.
Yeah, that was revenge for Dexy not being offsides.
They owed us that.
Yeah, but point to be made is what turned into 3 probably would have been 7 because they would have been at the doorstep of the Lions.
Yeah.
I will say this. Zach Wilson is not better than Mike White.
No.
But I got to give him credit for showing some moxie at the end of that game for extending that play. He had moments.
Yeah.
But truth be told, I thought he did a better job of playing within himself.
Yeah.
Jets have a really good receiving core, but you can see the frustration amongst those receivers that he just wasn't getting the ball where it needed to be, because Detroit does a lot of things really well, and I want to tip my hat to them. But one thing that they're not too great at, similar to our guys, that secondary is very leaky.
Very. And that's where Mike White would have came in handy, because Mike White's looking downfield. If not, then he's okay. I'm checking out, but he's looking for that deep pass.
Hell, even old man Flacco, I was like, they might ask him to like charge up the cannon, you know, because Flacco still got an arm.
He's still got an arm.
Yeah, you know, he might pull out his back, you know, taking the dog for a walk.
Right.
But that dude still got a cannon. But I get it. You got to play the guy you drafted. I get it. Yeah. And Flacco, his main service is to be a mentor, and he's comfortable in that role at this juncture of his career. And he's a great teammate in his own right.
Yeah, and with Detroit, can't say enough for Dan Campbell, man. He's turned that team around.
Yeah, man. After the 1-6, and now
1-6, 1-7, something like that.
Now they're 7-7. Just the only game they lost over the course of the last month and a half, 2 months, was the Bills game on Turkey Day.
Yeah. And he's turned, because that defense was horrible.
Yes,
but
indeed.
Look at them now. They're winning. They're winning. No matter where they go, they're winning. Because I thought Dan Campbell was gone.
Oh, I called for it midway through the season, saying that I had a feeling that his luster was moving off. But one thing I got to say, and credit is due to him.
Yeah,
we spoke off air about Coach of the Year. We mentioned Saleh. We mentioned Dable. Taking off my fan hat, the reason why I think it might be Dan Campbell is because he literally came from 5-6 games under 500 to bring these guys back.
Yeah.
In today's NFL, that's something that just doesn't happen very often. Like what's happening to us prior to yesterday, getting off to a good start and then kind of having a rough month and a half, that's very common. The Jets have been back and forth, mainly because of their quarterbacking situation, in our case, the secondary. But man, I tell you, this has been.
If I took the fan hat off, Campbell gets it.
To put it bluntly, there's no poor choice when you talk about those three coaches.
No, because Campbell was dead in the water.
And what could be the deciding factor is he has a win against each of those coaches. He did get the clean sweep in the Meadowlands.
Right.
You know, got to give it to him. Matt Ryan, man. Oh, my. Listen, he doesn't play defense. I get it. But how can we look at him and say, man, this isn't some bad luck? How are you oh, God. The worst blown lead in Super Bowl history. I can't completely blame that on him. This lead against Minnesota. And I'm cursing at work because I had started Kirk Cousins in that fantasy league. And going into the late in the second half, man had like 9 points. I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm going to lose. I come back in an hour. He got 50 points. I was like, what? Look. Listen, Jeff Saturday, I got nothing against you, but you're not the coach, clearly.
You're not the coach, man.
No, not when that happens.
I give Frank Wright credit. If he was the coach and it was up 31-0, they would have won that game.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was at work when that game was going on.
Yeah, same here, bro.
And I was like, I said, damn.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm in the kitchen, you know, talking to the, Dude said, the Vikings scored. I was like, all right. He said, Vikings scored. All right.
My first alert was when they scored their first touchdown. I didn't even know what the score was.
Yeah. It did. I had it on my phone.
It was like a 60-yard bomb or something. I was like, what? 33-7. I was like, what? In Minnesota?
Because I had it on my phone in the beginning.
I'm like, we got these guys next week. This might be good.
At halftime, I looked at the phone. I was like, man, I turned it off my phone. Just cut on some music. Dude came from the bar. He's like, hey, man, you ain't going to believe this. I said, what he said? Minnesota just took the lead. I'm like, you're damn. What the hell?
Yeah. I don't have words. And then when you factor in that this is also a team that was within striking distance of beating Dallas and then had one of the worst fourth quarters in NFL history, it's like, is it Matt Ryan? Is it just like, is it bad luck? Is something following him from the crazy Super Bowl back when they lost to New England? It's a little bit of everything. But, once again, what a difference a year makes. This is a team going into the year that I endorsed as my team to win this division.
And compete for the Super Bowl, yeah.
And it has gone Zappy as well. And it has just gone haywire. Nothing what we expected. Yeah, they got a lot of questions to answer, but still not an easy out. These are the Giants' next two opponents, these two teams.
Yeah. Saturday, he's not a coach, man. I mean, you just can't jump out the booth with no coaching experience and jump right on the NFL field.
I want to see Peyton Manning show up on the sideline. Why are you calling the plays, Jeff?
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Remember that fight they had?
Yeah, but I watched that. What's that?
Booger McFarland looked like he was about to swing on Peyton.
He's about to knock him out.
He's like, no, we're cool.
And Peyton like, no.
Yeah.
If you're up that big, just like me and you both play Madden.
Yeah.
And Brandon Gardner and Charles Davis always say, don't like they say, why won't you take the quarterback out? Blah, blah. And Charles Davis says, you just don't do that in the NFL. You play to win. Mm-hmm. Herman Edwards, you play to win the game. If you're up 31-0, you put it on them. This is not this is the NFL. And the thing about it is, Frank Reich, the former coach of the Indianapolis Colts, he had one of the greatest comebacks when Buffalo beat Houston.
That's right.
That should always say, you never take your foot off the pedal.
That's correct. I mean,
when you play to the final whistle, because we had a situation some years ago with Philadelphia where we had a big lead.
Oh, trust me. And you made the Herman Edwards reference to start. He was the guy in the first Miracle at the Meadowlands. Then you fast forward to Deshaun Jackson. Speaking of Madden, when the game came out, me and Brett getting ready to throw down, and it was in the highlights, and then Brett's looking at me. I'm like, shut up! Like, I was about to smack Brett.
When there was game, I was young. I saw that game and I literally cried. My tears.
Yeah, bro.
Like a baby.
It's all part of the rich history. What takes the blow away from the second one is that we won the Super Bowl the very next year. But my God, was that rough
to win?
And I want to jump to this before we go to the Chiefs, because Miracle at the Meadowlands 1, Miracle at the Meadowlands 2. I want to say that I think Matt Dodge and Joe Pisarcik could finally relax. After what we saw yesterday,
they could sleep.
Steve Azul of the Bleed Blue Show said it best. The stupidest thing he ever saw on a football field. Bruh. What the hell was that yesterday?
You had Jim Marshall recover a fumble for the Vikings and run the wrong way.
Yeah, that's called CTE.
Yeah, you had a guy 30 years ago named Roy Regals. They call him Wrong Way Regals. He did the same thing back in 1930 something. God bless their souls.
This was something different.
They can rest. Wherever they are, they can rest.
This was something different.
It was something
different. Bro, I've been on the wrong side as a fan of some dubious losses. The 49er game for the 0-2 season, we talked about Miracle at the Meadowlands. This was something different.
Pisarcik can
Ramondre Stevenson's running down the field, just to let the viewer know if you didn't already see it. You might be living under a rock if you didn't already. 24-24, time expiring. Ramondre throws it back. But this is where it got real. Once you realize that you're taking a 14, 15-yard loss from where, because, part of doing the lateral Statue of Liberty kind of plays is that you go forward, you go back, and you just hope to break some daylight. Mac Jones, I don't know if he was thinking about what he was going to have for dinner or something, but, they throw it to Mac Jones. I don't even know if Mac Jones knew the ball was coming or what.
No, he told him to down it.
Right. Chandler Jones catches it looking like Lawrence Taylor on Turkey Day. And he goes like this. Boom. He just stiff-armed him. I don't know. He might have stepped on him too.
Ran him over.
I was like, what happened? Like, how do you allow that to happen?
Jones was telling him
in a professional game.
He was telling him get down, and the pass came.
So he got down. He got down with an L. My God. And then of all people, Chandler Jones, who you could ask Brett, who's on the show sometimes. Brett will be making his grand reappearance on Wednesday, but Brett was so mad when Chandler Jones left the Patriots.
Yeah.
One of his favorites. And he's a damn good player. He hasn't had his kind of year.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, though, he will be that will forever be remembered as one of the worst plays. Mark Sanchez could rest with the butt fumble. The Buffalo Bills in the The Music City Miracle. They can rest a little.
Yep. Because with Buffalo,
my God,
that was just
a great play.
That was just a great play.
That's a little different. It happened to the Patriots a couple of years ago in Miami. Those things will happen. Yeah. But this was something different.
This is stupidly dumb. I mean, you're going into overtime. Down the ball.
Yeah, dude.
Down the ball.
Just like
throw it 15, 20 yards back. What are you doing?
Yeah. I don't even have words for this. I do want to make a mention here. Interesting. The way this Chiefs were sleepwalking, still good enough to beat the worst team in the NFL. Lovie Smith, I got to give him some credit, got these guys playing. They almost beat Dallas the week before.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something that I always find kind of funny about these fumbles.
Yeah.
You can get away with grand larceny on a fumble. And I'll be honest, they wanted to bring in Blandino or whatever official.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring him in to break this down. There wasn't no breakdown. One play later, Kansas City's partying in the end zone.
Right.
Quick hit, Jerick McKinnon. I've always been an advocate. Now, of course, I'm going to say that if it doesn't affect my team.
Mm-hmm.
That the same way that a guy's down on any other play, if he's down, he got a football, and somebody's like this, and then they're trying to like molest him and get the ball back, it's like, why does everything always go on a pile jump? That's something that it's weird because he like literally went under him and grabbed the ball from underneath him.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like the groundhog or something, like
he was down. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But at the same time, there's a reason why that team is a one-win team.
Yeah.
They've proven it 2 consecutive weeks. I love Coach Lovie Smith, one of the real good guys in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, man, that is you got to have the patience of a saint to take over that situation.
Yeah, because it's a mess there, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a mess tracking it back to the Deshaun Watson situation.
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten any better.
It's a mess. And think about it, he's got them playing hard. They are playing hard.
And there is something to say for that.
Yeah, they're playing, and it's a shame because the fans. I got a friend. Shout out to Yuri, my man Yuri. He's a fan, and he's a diehard fan. It's like no fan except for the Cowboy fans. No fan deserves what the Houston Texans fans are getting.
You're talking about perennial playoff team when they had Watson, when they had J.J. Watt.
Deshaun,
and they had D-Hop.
Yeah.
And before him, Andre Johnson.
And
now you got this.
Arian Foster.
Arian Foster was good too, and now you got this.
It's
just but on the flip side and on the good news, they're going to get the number 1 overall pick. So that's something to be excited about. But the sad thing is, and this is true, this is one of those drafts where having the 1 pick might not be as awesome as other years where you might want to trade back. Because this is not the kind of thing where that one player is going to turn this around.
And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. This goes out to the Giants fans who say we need to draft a quarterback this year. There's no real good quarterback out there. They're okay. You got one who has the talent, but needs to be groomed. There's no. I'd rather stick with Jones, a guy who's in the system, understands the system, knows the mentality of the coach, and bring somebody in new who you got to teach all over again. Indeed. So, we stick with who we got, extend his deal 2 years, franchise, whatever we got to do, see what he does with the players around him. But for the Houston Texans, this might be the year that having the number 1 pick, you might want to consider
dropping back with that. And I want to make one last comment.
Shout out to your moms. I saw just check.
Yeah. She's got to check in with her later. One thing I saw on social media, not even naming the person because we already know any word naming. All I'm going to say is,
I can, but
this person puts on, this was like about 5-6 days ago, trying to compare Herbert's situation of being elite to Daniel Jones. I think she called it a snail's pace of progress. You already made all the references about how he's throwing to guys that would not even be on the starting lineup in any other NFL team.
Not even a backup.
And the thing that I find so funny about the ignorance of really not knowing the game or the nuances that come with it is that you're making the comparison, but you're not taking into consideration that man in Los Angeles, who, yes, he is elite, has Austin Eckler as an instant dump down, has a Keenan Allen, has a Mike Williams, and even their number 3, because a number 3 receiver in the NFL is invaluable, in Palmer. Bro, enough with that. I don't care if he's not your choice.
Right.
But then again, just to clear it up, this is the same knucklehead that wanted Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace. But this is the same knucklehead that wanted Dwayne Haskins. So it's like when I look at these idiots, and I'm just like, damn, man, some of these Giant fans really depress me and embarrass me with the instant, like they don't know how to be happy even after a hard-fought victory. They're always trying to tear this kid down.
It's crazy because even compare, Daniel Jones went high, but he wasn't top 10 talent.
He was the best pick for the next position, the next player at that position.
Right.
He was the best pick.
Right.
And to where got him at 17, maybe.
Right. To where Herbert was he was projected to be like a number 1, number 2.
Right.
So you there, that alone says that the two quarterbacks were on different levels. And like I said, we don't have what Justin Herbert.
And anybody that doesn't see the growth, NFL players have seen it. Ask Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes what they think about Daniel Jones's progression. They have both been in constant contact with him.
You know what? This is why I tell people Josh Allen was Daniel Jones, and I'm going to explain why.
That's a big fact.
Compared to 2 rookie seasons,
yes,
Allen got hurt.
Yes.
And when he came back his second year, he was throwing picks and
And he was part of a dubious comeback loss to the Houston Texans. Let's not forget that.
When Dable actually got a season to put them together that 3rd year, we saw what Josh Allen can do.
And that's the whole point I'm making. You've made an investment of time into him.
Right.
Why would you quit on him now when he's finally turning the corner? And let's keep it a buck. Unless the Giants are willing to draft up, you don't have the answer in this year's draft, given your draft position.
Right, because we're going to be down in the next 10.
Right. You need a corner. We're going to the playoffs, bro. You need a corner. You need a receiver.
Right.
And you need a coverage guy that can play linebacker. That's what this team needs. And possibly maybe get somebody to take over for Glowinski in the next year or two, because if there's he's not the worst, but the point is when you look at that offensive line, he's the weak link, right?
It's like a turnstile.
And that's why Bredesen, that absence that he had was so big. And we're talking about mediocre lines. This is a guy that's done it with. They're kind of on the fringe of mediocre to getting a little better.
Yeah.
The Bengals. We already kind of spoke on this, so not much to see here. But Week 18 could be a huge one when they do play the Baltimore Ravens, which I believe Lamar might be back for. With Lamar, without Lamar, I'm just going to say it now. I think the Bengals have turned the corner and are trying to repeat as conference champions. That's all I got there. Just wanted to touch on the mention, because Baltimore's offense has been a hot mess even before the Lamar injury.
Yeah, and their defense is not all that.
No, sir.
I think when Joe, like I said, I'm an LSU fan, so I'm a Joe Burrow fan. That guy is incredible, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That guy's incredible, and him telling them draft Chase, please draft him.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild because I was not the biggest fan of that, because when I'm thinking about he's coming off the knee injury.
Yeah.
I'm like, go get Penei Sewell, the guy who Detroit got.
Yeah.
And he's having a hell of a career in his own right. And shout out to both those young players, because Burrow was proven right.
Yeah.
But he has taken his fair share of beatings.
Yeah.
And that is an O-line that is still a work in progress as well, but they have been playing better lately. Before we get out of here, we got the wild card races. They're dwindling down to the final. I'm going to give us a little assistance just by pulling this up. Give us a little instant look at the playoff picture. But I'll tell you, man, both New York teams still in the mix in each conference. It was huge. Right now, as it stands, Washington 7, Giants 6. We got the Chargers, who have made quite the push. up in 6. Miami is down to 7, and you still got New England. You still got the Jets in the mix in the AFC. In the NFC, it's frustrating that Tampa even gets to go to the playoffs. But, our division had a year like that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Who are your final 2 in the NFC? Because we know that Dallas is more or less locked into 5.
I'm saying we'll get 6. I think Washington will make it.
I thought that going into yesterday, I felt a little more comfortable about that. But this is my thing with Washington. They got the Niners this week. So even if we lose this week to Minnesota, we still have an edge on them. Yeah. And even if Detroit wins, we still have an edge on them.
Yeah.
Giants, I can't see doing any worse than 7.
I think if we win a game, I think 9 will get us in.
Oh no, we're definitely getting in. I think at this point,
I think 9 will lock us
because those percentage brackets and all the analytics supporting that are very real numbers.
Yeah. I think once we get to 9, I think that's it.
I'll put it to you like this: the tie helps us in a way that the tie doesn't help Washington because of the result of yesterday's game.
Right.
I think that's the best way to explain it. Out in the AFC, I think what's going to be the undoing of the Jets is that sweep to the Patriots. Because even though the Patriots lost a heartbreaker yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about AFC and the NFC. I thought you
I know. I'm going back and forth.
Okay.
I started it with the NFC.
Okay.
I'm going to go Giants in Detroit. And I like Detroit's schedule at the end. And if it is Washington, I'm going to just say this. Circle week 18. The Lions take a trip to Lambeau. I can see the Packers giving it their all to make sure that they knock them out on that divisional pride. Whereas on the flip side, the Dallas Cowboys, it would behoove them to relax and chill because they don't have a bye like Philadelphia does.
Right.
That's why it's all important for the Giants to make sure that they at least win one of their next 2. Because going into Philly is far from a guarantee that you're going to play the B and C guys.
Yeah.
No matter what, we'll be better because we'll be healthier when we play the second time. Having said that, we better take care of business before we head to Philly.
Yeah. Shout out to Herman Bright. He's a watcher of the show, Detroit Lions fan. My DJ partner.
Yeah, that's cool when you got real fans that get to see this finally.
And he's a Detroit fan from the Carolinas.
That's what's up.
The thing about the Lions, that's a team that I've never had any hate for.
It's hard to hate a team like that. They got some loyal ass fans.
I've always liked them for some reason.
I got no bad for them.
Yeah, and if they made the playoffs, I would like to see them. I mean, I would love to see our whole division make it
for sure.
But if it's a team I wouldn't see getting there, it would be Detroit. I want to see what they do.
I'm not gonna cry if Washington gets bumped out.
No,
they got that division title because Philly laid down. That'd be the last team I'd feel bad about not making it.
I don't feel bad for them. And as for the AFC, I want to see little brother get in there.
I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I don't hate the Jets.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't have that same venom that I do for the guys from Queens and baseball.
Right, exactly.
Or the Brooklyn Nets, who I legitimately hate. Or the New York Islanders.
The Staten Islanders.
Right. I don't have that same disdain for the New York Jets. Yeah. You worded it well, little brother. Mm-hmm. Hard not to respect what Robert Saleh has done over there.
Yeah.
I will say this: the Jets gotta take care of business this coming week.
Yeah,
that goes without saying because they have an opportunity to jump the Patriots.
They got to start Mike White, man. I
think he should be cleared this week. Patriots play the Bengals. Hard to see the Patriots winning that one, and I think that'll essentially put the nail in their coffin.
Yeah.
You got a Miami Dolphin team that's been on a slide. You know, they dropped to 7. So that rematch with Miami is going to be huge. The Jets got a big win over them earlier in the year when they were missing Tua. Yeah. And I do think that the Jets have the defense that can keep Miami honest. But they need better quarterback play if they're going to beat anybody that matters. And you also got to give a shout out to the Chargers for sneaking in. The more I look at it and the more I see how things are breaking, I think the Chargers will get in. And I think that final spot truly comes down to who wins the rematch with the Dolphins and the Jets. My gut tells me the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are finally going to break that, in the Flores era, they got close a couple of years in a row.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. The interesting thing about Detroit getting in, should they be the 7 seed, and if things were the way they are now, they get Minnesota in round 1. And I tell you what, that's a game that I think a lot of people would be excited to see.
I would.
I've gone on record multiple times saying how I do not want to play the 49ers in round 1, but I will say this. After seeing what I saw yesterday, it kind of reinstilled a little hope in me that as we get healthier for this playoff push, the Giants can, on a physical level, hang around with a team like that. I would still prefer to play Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Giants are going to go into that game, should it be the Niners, and be intimidated. If we lose, it's because they are better. But it's not going to be because of intimidation or that we're not punching with them. You know, this Giants team played Aspire football because of this guy right here. He really lit a fire under their ass. You know, and, you know, there's something to be said for that.
As a boxing fan, I know we got to get out of here. As a boxing
we got a couple minutes.
Oh, okay. As a boxing fan, I see us as that puncher.
Right.
We don't have a lot of skill, but we're like Ernie Shavers.
Wow.
You might punch us and punch us, but if we hit you, you're going down.
Right.
And I always saw us like when we early part of the season, even now, it's like Ali with the rope-a-dope. We're gonna sit on the ropes, let you, and if you give us that shot, we're gonna hit you going down, so you can't let us hang around.
A lot of time left, but I'm gonna say this. A lot of time left in the season, but I'll say this. Just to show that I'm not being a homer. I think the NFC title game is going to be the Dallas Cowboys visiting the San Francisco 49ers. I have a vibe that when it counts, they're going to beat Philly in Philly. We'll see if that even comes to fruition. I got the Niners winning this conference.
I do too.
There's still time.
I do too.
Shout out Brock Purdy. I'm going to say this quick. He reminds me very similarly and eerily to 0-1 Tom Brady. Brady's first start was against Peyton Manning, a victory. Purdy's first start was against Tom Brady. Yeah, it's a little eerie in that regard. Then you take into account that Brady was a childhood Niner fan.
Yeah.
Flipping it over to the AFC.
Before you do that, I want to let everybody know. I said, watch out for Brock Purdy.
He did.
Boy can ball.
And you got to look at it for the immediate future. It makes all the sense in the world to move out from Jimmy G at this point.
Yeah.
And maybe they might move on from both those guys. They might trade Trey Lance also.
Yeah.
And in the AFC, you got to think KC at Buffalo at KC, one combination of that factor. But this is where it gets interesting. Cincinnati Bengals have had the Chiefs number over the last couple of years. And
that's something.
Yeah, it is interesting. I still think it's going to be KC Buffalo. I think Buffalo finally beats KC on the grand stage of the AFC title game. And I got Buffalo and the 49ers playing a Super Bowl that many people wanted in the 90s. But what I find interesting, just to show how things always come full circle, you got to go back. Joe Montana was the quarterback for the Chiefs. They got their doors blown off by Buffalo. That was Buffalo's 4th consecutive year making the ball. On the other side, Dallas beat the Niners. That was Aikman's Cowboys beating Young's Niners. Yeah. And America got the game that they didn't want to see. Another beatdown of Buffalo. Everybody wanted Steve Young versus Joe Montana. We got it years later, but it wasn't the same luster when you got Jimmy G against Patrick Mahomes. But my gut tells me, with the road possibly running through Buffalo in the AFC, it's going to be very hard to beat that team. And in the the NFC, any combination of Philly Niners, Dallas Niners, because Philly and Dallas are on a collision course round 2. I'm going Niners, Bills, and I think Buffalo's going to win their first Super Bowl, but that will be revealed. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I'm going with got that many time left. To be honest, I think it's going to be KC. I think the road will go through Buffalo, but I think KC will do it. But my dark horse is Cincy. I don't think. Sure. I think it'll be Philly versus the 49ers in the NFC, with the 49ers going all the way, going to the the 49ers getting there, maybe KC versus 49ers.
No, definitely possible. Definitely possible. They've both been in the mix for so many years.
And it's not because I don't like Dallas. It's just I just don't trust them.
Chiefs doing something that's only been done 3 times in NFL history, winning their division 7 years in a row. We're running out of time. I want to keep talking, but we'll be back soon. For Idris, I'm Richie. Thank you so much